Long ago, in a small remote village on the border, lived a poor old man. Despite his poverty and his simple hut, he possessed a treasure that even the reigning emperor would envy, a beautiful white horse. This horse was unlike any animal people had ever seen. Its coat was as white as snow on a high mountain peak, its stature majestic, its muscles rippling and its eyes bright with an intelligence that seemed to understand human speech. Anyone who saw the white horse marveled at it, admired it, and felt a desire to possess it. Many times, wealthy merchants and even messengers from the king came to the old man's dilapidated hut. They brought heavy bags of gold and promises of a life of luxury and wealth, all in exchange for the white horse. The villagers all advised him to sell it. They said he was foolish to cling to a precious animal while he struggled to find food for every meal. The money from selling the horse could help him live comfortably for the rest of his life, and even his descendants would benefit. However, in the face of these tempting offers, the old man always shook his head in refusal with a gentle smile. He told everyone that this horse was not just an animal. It was a friend. And how can one buy, sell, or trade a friend? He cherished the connection between himself and the horse more than any treasure in the world. He chose peace of mind and sincere affection over the pursuit of material glamour. And so, he continued to live in poverty beside his precious horse, despite the whispers, the gossip, and the ridicule of the townspeople regarding his stubbornness. Then one morning, a shocking event occurred. When the old man entered the stable, he found it empty. The precious white horse had disappeared. The news spread like wildfire, and soon the villagers gathered in a crowd in front of his house. They looked at the empty stable and then turned to the old man with eyes full of both pity and reproach. They spoke up loudly. Someone said, "See, I told you so. You should have sold it when the price was high. Now what? It has been stolen or has run away. You have lost your property and are left empty-handed. This is truly a terrible stroke of bad luck, a curse for your stubbornness." They felt sorry for him, yet secretly felt smug that their predictions had come true. But the old man's reaction stunned everyone. He did not cry, he did not complain, and he did not show anger or regret. He stood there, as calm as an autumn lake, looking at the empty stable and telling the noisy crowd that they should not be so quick to judge. The simple truth was that the horse was no longer in the stable. That was all they knew. As for whether it was bad luck or good luck, a misfortune or a blessing, no one could know yet. This was only a small piece of the story. How could they conclude his entire life was a tragedy based on this one event? The villagers shook their heads in disappointment, thinking the old man had become senile from grief and was making excuses to hide his pain. They left, leaving the old man alone in the silence. Time passed, and 15 days later, a miracle happened. One late afternoon, as the red sunset covered the mountains and forests, people heard the thundering sound of hooves shaking the ground. From deep within the forest, the old man's white horse suddenly returned. But it did not return alone. Following behind it was a whole herd of wild horses, beautiful, strong, and proud. It turned out the white horse had not been stolen. It had escaped to find companions, and now it had returned, bringing a massive fortune to its owner. The village was in an uproar once again. People flocked to see the herd of horses, their eyes shining with envy and admiration. They surrounded the old man and offered their congratulations. They said the old man was right, that he was a man of great foresight. Losing the horse turned out not to be bad luck, but a great blessing. Now he not only had his precious horse back, but also owned a valuable herd of wild horses. He had become the wealthiest man in the region. Contrary to the extreme excitement of the villagers, the old man remained as calm as ever. He did not jump for joy, nor did he act arrogant. He looked at the herd of horses, then at his cheering neighbors, and softly said that they were going too far again. The truth was simply that the horse had returned and brought others with it. That was all. Why were they so quick to affirm this as a blessing? Who could be sure that this sudden wealth would not bring other troubles? Life is a series of consecutive events. Do not be too quick to rejoice before seeing the whole picture. The villagers were taken aback, thinking the old man was strange and able to enjoy his good fortune and constantly worrying about nothing. But regardless, the reality was that he had become wealthy, and they still secretly wished to be like him. The story continued as the old man and his only son began to tame the wild horses. The son was a strong young man, passionate about riding and very excited about training the new horses. But disaster struck one morning. While trying to tame a particularly aggressive horse, the son was thrown to the ground. The violent fall shattered his leg. Despite being treated, the leg was permanently disabled, leaving him a cripple who walked with a difficult limp. The villagers came again. This time, the atmosphere was one of mourning and apprehension. They looked at the disabled young man and sighed. They told the old man he was right. That herd of wild horses was indeed not a blessing but a disaster. Because of them, his only son was crippled for life. Now, who would he rely on in his old age? This was a painful tragedy, the ultimate bad luck. The old man looked at his son in pain, and his heart surely ached like any other father's, but on his face, equanimity still resided. He did not wail or blame the heavens. He told everyone they were judging again. His son fell and broke his leg. That was the truth. He would have difficulty walking. That was also the truth. But that was all they knew at the moment. Do not be quick to call it a disaster or a curse. Life is still long, and who knows what will happen next. They were only seeing a fragment. They should not conclude his whole life was ruined. This time, people truly felt the old man was too cold, even emotionless. How could a father be so calm when his son met with such a great misfortune? They left, their hearts full of sympathy for the family's unlucky fate. A year later, the country was plunged into war. Enemy troops crossed the border, and the situation was extremely critical. The king issued a general mobilization order, forcing all able-bodied young men in the region to enlist and go to battle. It was a cruel and bloody war. The entire village was drowned in the mournful cries of mothers and wives seeing their sons and husbands off to the army. The healthy, strong young men, those who had once ridiculed the old man's son, all had to take up arms and go to the battlefield. Bad news kept flying back. 9 out of 10 young men who went to war died on the fierce battlefield, never having the chance to return home. The entire village was covered in the white of mourning. But there was one exception, the old man's son. Because of his broken leg, because he was considered disabled, he did not meet the criteria for enlistment. He was allowed to stay in the village, living peacefully beside his elderly father. Although walking was a bit difficult, he was still alive, still able to do light work and care for his father. While the rest of the village lost their children, the old man and his son were still together. At this point, the remaining villagers finally realized the truth the old man had been trying to tell them for all those years. The broken leg, which seemed to be the most terrible disaster, turned out to be the protective amulet that saved the young man's life from certain death. What they once called bad luck had now become the greatest blessing. The story of the old man and the white horse ends, but its echoes resonate forever in our minds. This life is a series of closely linked events, one leading to another, this cause producing that effect. We, small humans with limited vision, often only see the immediate gain or harm and rush into extreme joy or extreme suffering. When one door closes, we often collapse and cry, thinking it is the end, without enough patience to wait and see another door slowly opening. We often label everything that happens to us. This is luck, that is bad luck. This is success, that is failure. But the truth is, nothing is absolute. In luck there is misfortune, and in misfortune there is luck. An event that looks like the worst curse today might just be the necessary preparation for an invaluable gift tomorrow. The old man in the story taught us a lesson about equanimity. Equanimity is not being emotionless, nor is it not knowing pain or joy. Equanimity is the state of mind that keeps one's heart still before the violent waves of life. It is when success does not bring arrogance and failure does not bring discouragement. It is the ability to take a step back, take a deep breath, and tell oneself, this is not the end. This is just a stretch of the road. If today you are facing something that is not as you wished, perhaps losing a job, a breakup, or a failure that makes you feel as if the sky is falling, remember the image of the old man sitting by the empty stable. Remember that losing something today might be to make room for better things to come. Stumbling today might be to hold you back, preventing you from falling into a more dangerous abyss ahead. Do not be quick to judge your life through just one page of a book. Do not let momentary emotions cloud your reason. Learn to accept everything that comes and goes as a natural occurrence. Be patient and trust in the flow of life, because everything happens for a reason. And sometimes, the greatest blessings are carefully wrapped in the rough shell of adversity. Keep your faith and keep walking, because the brilliant panoramic painting of your life is still waiting for you to discover it ahead.